Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, palettes clearly, blush, highlight, bronzer, lip gloss, everything except pressed glitter. And today we are going to be talking about my collection of pinky purple eyeshadow palettes. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick with me. We're getting into it right now. So these videos, oh my goodness, are getting a little bit out of hand. I have, let's see, I think I'm going to end up with at least 5 of the videos talking about just my eyeshadow palettes, but the videos are going to be so long, otherwise I can't break them up. So I'm going to break them up, try to make things a little bit easier for everybody, but we need to make some cuts, I think, in this palette collection. Most of my videos are just collection videos, but this pinky purple drawer that I have is overflowing. It's hard to close, it's very heavy, it's almost fallen out a couple times because of how heavy it is, so I really think I need to make some thoughtful cuts here. So we are going to work on that today. So let's talk about this one first. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. This one got very mixed reviews, and initially I was keeping it for this blue with the kind of green teal purpley glitter in it, because I think that shade is actually really pretty, but I think I have some duochrome, here let me show you. I think I have some duochrome shades in other collections that are just a better version of that type of color. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. I have this Bed of Roses Color Icon Wet n Wild quad. I think this is a really pretty quad. I really enjoy the colors that they picked out for this one, so I'm definitely going to keep that. Same with this e.l.f. bite-sized Rosewater quad. I think this is a really pretty quad as well. I just wanted to show you it with my pinky purple palettes, but definitely going to keep that one. This is the Razzle Dazzle Raspberry palette. This is really a pretty color story. I really enjoy using it. As you can see, I've made a pretty sizable divot in this, which is hard to do when you have as many palettes as I do, so I think that's pretty telling, and I'm definitely going to keep this one. It has a smell of candy, berry candy, so definitely going to keep that one. We can talk about this one next. This is the BH Cosmetics Paris palette. This palette is absolutely stunning. I love these palettes, and even this is actually pretty similar to that color from the Natasha Denona palette. Not quite the same, but very similar, and better reflectivity with that one. So I definitely want to keep this palette because I think it is such a beautiful color story. Now this palette is from Pastel Roses UK, that's right. And this is the palette. It's got some, some really nice metallic shades in here. This blue is really pretty. They're very good quality, but I tend not to reach for this because I have so many other palettes in this particular kind of colorway with all the pinks and things. So I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. Next, we'll talk about the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions palette. I think because I have the other 2 Huda palettes, I can go ahead and get rid of this one. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one as well. The Violet Voss Sweet Violet palette. This is one of the first videos I ever put up on my channel, so it is rough if you go and watch it. But I do really like the color story of this. I think it's a cute little purple palette, so I'm definitely going to keep it. Of course, I almost put it in my declutter palettes pile, so that was not good. This is the Juvia's Place Blushed Rose. Very beautiful color story. I really like this. Definitely going to keep this little 6-pan. The Nabla Wild Berries palette, one of my absolute favorite palettes from Nabla. Definitely going to keep this one. It's such a beautiful color story. Then I have another one of these Too Faced palettes. I think this is the 3rd and final of these palettes that I have. This is the Guava. Is it Glowing Guava? No, Papaya Pop. Who knows? But that's what this one looks like. It's got this really pretty duochrome in it. Some beautiful pops of color here. This one kind of smells like fruit, but it's a little more subtle than the other two. I think they kind of scaled it back a little bit, but very pretty. I got these all for half price, so if you're thinking about getting one, I would wait till Too Faced has them half price and then get it, because then they're like $17, which I think is way more reasonable for these. Okay, the next one I have is the Smashbox and Vlada palette, which is all this like rose gold goodness. I'm definitely going to hang on to this one. It was limited edition and I really, really like it. We have the Wondrous Fling palette, which is one of the reasons I got the Tribe Beauty box in the first place, because I really, really liked how this palette looked and I really wanted to pick it up, and the price of this palette was basically the same as the Tribe box, so I went ahead and got it. I think this is a really pretty color story. I'm definitely going to hang on to this one. This is the Ace Beauté Scarlet Dusk palette. I really like this one for the like vibrant oranges that it has in it. If I kind of block some of the light out, it looks a little bit more true to color. But this has some really pretty oranges in it. I love this ambrosia shade. These kind of rosy shades as well look very, very pretty. So gonna hang on to this one. This Be Bella Shades of Roses palette, it is a pretty palette, but I think I have some of these shades in other palettes, and I don't think this one attracts me enough to say like, hey, I need to keep this palette for these shades, so I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. I have the Nobla Dreamy palette, which this took a little bit of finding because it came out before I really got into makeup, so I wasn't really like sure what I was doing with this. There we go. So that's what this color story looks like. It's so pretty, like soft rosy shades. I really love this. I found it on Mercury for basically the price of the original palette, unused, so I went ahead and picked it up and so happy that I did. I love the formula of those palettes too. I have another Nobla palette here. This is the Poison Garden palette. This packaging is like stunning. And then inside the palette, I like this palette. It's probably not my favorite of my Nobla palettes. I'd like to do a ranking video at some point for my Nobla palettes, because I think that would be a fun video to talk about, but it is a nice quality palette, so I'm going to hang on to it. Then I have the BH Weekend Vibes Mimosa palette. This palette's awesome. This is a nice like pinky orange coral kind of a palette. Very, very pretty. I really enjoyed the looks I did with this. Took it on a weekend girls trip. Was not disappointed. Then we'll talk about the BH New Romantic palette. These palettes from BH Cosmetics are really, really nice. So I really enjoyed this palette a lot. I think the colors that they picked out were really pretty. I love the inclusion of this kind of khaki green shade and this kind of like red Valentine shade down here that's sort of like a darkened cranberry. It is so pretty. So definitely will be hanging on to this palette for sure. She's in Parties by Melt Cosmetics. I definitely had to pick this one up after Angelica Nikvez talked so highly of it, and I'm really happy I did. I love how this is such a like kind of a metallic frosty purple shade, and then you've got this really pretty kind of dark burgundy She's in Parties kind of a color. These mattes blend out really nicely, so overall I really love the palette. I love the damask packaging for it, so I'll definitely be keeping this one. I have the Urban Decay Naked Cherry, another one of the Naked palettes. I got rid of Naked Heat last year, but the pinky purple is definitely where my heart lies the deepest, so I'll definitely be keeping this one for this color story for sure. I have the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette, which again is just this really pretty kind of a pinky color story with some pops of kind of teal and aqua, and this really pretty kind of like bluey gray shade, which just looks so pretty. So definitely going to be hanging on to this palette. I love the color story of this one, and I got it on a wicked sale, so happy with that. The Abh Norvina palette. I picked this up when I was on vacation with my aunt like 2 years ago, and I think this is such a pretty palette. I haven't used it in a while, so I definitely need to bust this one out again. It actually kind of reminds me of the Nobla Soul Blooming now that I look at it, which I don't own. But definitely does remind me of that palette. I have the dupe for it. Yeah, definitely going to be keeping the Norvina palette. Then they have the Desi and Katie. This is the Friendcation palette. It's mostly some like pinky neutral. I think this might actually be served better in my neutrals drawer rather than my pinky purple drawer. But I do think this is a really pretty palette. It's definitely not going anywhere. I love these shimmery shades. I mean, they are just so stunning, and this green is like disgusting how pretty it is. And I think this actually would be a better dupe for that Natasha Denona palette than Natasha Denona was. And then I'll show you the black and the green. Like those, oh my gosh, amazing palette. But I think I'm going to put it in the neutrals section of my stuff. Alright, then we have the Woma Coming to America palette. This is absolutely dreamy. These are just so buttery. They're like ColourPop Super Shocks. They are so beautiful to work with. I really enjoy this palette, so definitely going to keep that one. X's and O's. I got this from a friend of mine actually, and I love the packaging. The color story is like, it's okay, but I kind of wonder if I might like rejig some of these singles, switch them around with the ColourPop, was it Cute AF palette or whatever, that like yellow, orange, red one, and use this actual palette for some of those singles because I just love this packaging so much better. This is the NYX To Me Love Me palette, which I have a video up on my channel and it actually got a lot of views, so if you're interested in this palette, definitely go check that video out. This palette is a really pretty palette though. The metallics are beautiful, nice and soft and buttery, very like luminous. The mattes are very pretty, very concentrated color. So I really enjoy this one. I think when it was originally on sale it was like $30 something, but I hit a day where there was like a 30% off coupon for it, so I think that made it more reasonable because I just don't think NYX should be charging like $30 for a palette, but it's adorable, so definitely keeping it. Natasha Denona Love Palette. This is a gift from my husband, so for sure I'll be keeping this one. I really enjoy the color story of this. I think it's got some really pretty like purples and pinks. It's got this really nice like kind of dark mauvey brown shade, so I'll be keeping this one for sure. Then I have the Season C'est La Vie palette from Makeup Maniacs, I think. Yeah, Makeup Maniacs. And this is like that pinky purple palette. I think this would replace the Pastel Roses palette that I decided to declutter, so I'm going to hang on to this one and definitely declutter the other one. The navy in this one is bomb too. I have this Ofra palette, which is like a kind of a purpley palette, and it's definitely, it's pretty, but the purples are kind of hard to work with. It does have the Retrograde highlighter, which I now have in a full size, so I don't think I need to keep it for that reason. I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along. I have a bunch of singles here from Busy Art, and again, I just don't think I'm going to reach for these over some of my other palettes, so I'm going to declutter these as well to my aunt and keep the Z palette so that I can put something else in it. I have the Dose of Colors of Blushing Berries palette. This one is also really pretty. It's just a 5-pan all matte palette. I think this would be great to mix with some of my like topper palettes, so I'll definitely be keeping this one. I have the Colored Rain and Power palette. This is not going anywhere. It's an absolutely beautiful color story. The metallic shades in here blend with the mattes like a dream, so this will not be going anywhere. The Tartelette in Bloom. This is one of the first palettes, like big girl palettes I actually got, and I really enjoy this palette. This shade down here is probably my absolute favorite in the entire palette. You definitely have more of like a cool toned, and then more of like a straight neutral, and then more of a straight warm toned kind of side to it. I really like this palette. I definitely think I want to keep it. I have this Butterfly Kisses palette from Copaceti Cosmetic. This was also done in collaboration with her mom because she's a breast cancer survivor, so I will be keeping this one. I actually won this from the head of Tribe Beauty Box. She had selected me for an Instagram giveaway, so definitely going to keep that one. the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes. This is an awesome palette. If you can get your hands on it still, it's a really nice palette. Definitely a lot of warm tone neutrals, but they blend so nicely together. It's just a really fun palette. Right, so this is the Dubious palette. This is the Deuce or Douce. I have no idea how you actually say it, but this is the color story. It's absolutely gorgeous. It took me forever to hunt this one down, so I'll definitely be keeping this one. I love the color story of this. This is the Lorella Cosmetics Sweetheart palette, and it looks like this. This palette was okay to work with, but I think because I have so many other palettes, I'd rather give this to somebody else who could make better use of it, make more use of it. So I'm going to be passing this along to somebody else. Then I have the Ace Beauté Paradise Fallen palette, which looks like this. And this one, again, I got, I think on Poshmark for about $17 shipped, but it was new. Never had been swatched or anything like that. I do enjoy the Ace Beauté formula, but I think it's a little challenging to work with sometimes. It's a very stiff formula, so I don't think paying full price is necessary for these palettes, but I do think they're really pretty, so if you can find them on sale, definitely get them at that time. Then I have a couple of Profusion palettes here. I have the Violets, the Mauves, and the Fuchsia. I think they're all very pretty. This one kind of reminds me of Norvina, and then this one is just like a really pretty bright pink, and then this of course is just sort of that like mauve neutral color story. I'm definitely going to be keeping these. I'd like to do a ranking video at some point because I think I have about 8 of these palettes, and they're only $5, so I would really like to be able to like show those, swatch them, and rank them for you guys. So let me know if that would be something that you're interested in. And then the last little bit of palettes here. This is the C Color Cosmetics Purple Rain palette. It's a dupe for the Jefferson Starship Bloodlust. I don't know. Some stupid palette he did. But this one I think is really nice. The quality is pretty decent. I have a video up on my channel using this palette, which I really like the look for. So if you wanted to check it out, you definitely could. And I swatched this palette in that video. Then I have the Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow palette. This is an absolutely beautiful palette. I love the color story. I love the bright pops that you have in here. This nutty shade is nice. It's an iridescent like blue shade. I love the Leno blue purple kind of duochrome. Group Chat is probably one of my favorites, but Dofa is like the unsung hero, like perfect kind of like cranberry red brown. It is so pretty. I really enjoy using that shade. I pretty much use it every time I use this palette. Then I have the Rose Period from Suva Beauty. This I got in a Tribe Beauty box as well. One of my favorite palettes I ever got from Tribe Beauty. So this palette for sure I'm going to stick around with. This is the Dominique Cosmetics Berries and Cream palette, another classic. I really enjoy the navy in this palette. I like this kind of like cool toned purple that you have. Her metallics they're just kind of okay. They're not like the most metallic in the world, but I think her mattes are where she shines anyway, so I'm going to keep this for the mattes. And then would it even be like a pinky purple color story if we didn't talk about this one, which again probably actually falls more in the neutral color story than in the pinks and purples, but like just look how pretty these shades are. They're so stunning. They're so beautiful. I love this palette. It's still holding up so nicely, so I'm definitely going to hang on to this one, but I'll probably move it to the neutral kind of block. And then the last palette to talk about, this is the Makeup a Murder Partner in Crime palette, one of the first videos I ever did on my channel. That's a rough one to watch, you guys. But that's what this color story looks like. I want to swatch these and see if they're still like holding up, because the last time I tried to do, oh actually those feel pretty good. The last time I tried to do a video, they just felt, I think the mattes feel a little dry. Might just be this black, but that's okay. The metallics are still holding up really well, so definitely going to be hanging on to this palette. I really enjoy it. I love the aesthetic. Definitely hang on to that. Alright, and with that said, that is everything for the pinky purple portion of the palettes. I think I got rid of about 6 or 7, which is pretty decent for me, especially in this category because I love these palettes so much. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check back to see the other videos that are going to be in my eyeshadow palette collection as well as the rest of the videos in my makeup collection. I want to thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!